Our third podcast from Glory Fellowship Baptist Church. I'm Randy Strasner. I'm the worship and families pastor here at Glory, and I guess you could say I'm the acting host of the podcast. But we want to welcome all of you, and we have had just great response from the podcast so far, and so thankful to everybody that listens and watches. And again, as we've said in the first couple of ones, we pray and hope that these are meaningful and impactful to you. Our goal is that the podcast that comes out, the first part of the week, is going to be kind of a recap and with Adam and just talking about a couple of points from his sermon from the past Sunday. And then later on in the week, we want to have different people in from our church and talk about different ministries. And we're starting all that with our staff. And so today I have Michelle Howell with us, and she serves as our children's director here at Glory Fellowship. And Michelle, last week we just celebrated your 1-year anniversary of being on staff here at Glory Fellowship, and it's been awesome to have you on staff here. And you want to talk just a few minutes about that?
Yeah, I appreciate that, Randy. It kind of came to my realization about midday on March 2nd that the Lord had blessed me with this opportunity to be involved with Glory Fellowship in a different way than I have in the past, and it has been just a blessing in so many ways. Not only the children, but the adults involved, and so. This staff couldn't ask for a better group to work with, and I'm just glad to be here and be serving wherever the Lord has me to serve.
Awesome. Well, we're glad that you're part of the staff and your family, your husband Buster, your children Japheth and Kylie, and you guys have been a part of Glory Fellowship for how long now?
Almost 14 years.
Almost 14 years. Wonderful.
Yes.
So we're glad that Michelle is here serving, and she just jumped right in and has gone to work. And so today we're going to talk about our Glory Kids and what all that involves, and our mission for our Glory Kids and so forth. So Michelle, start off by just kind of giving us an explanation of what Glory Kids is and maybe the mission statement for that as well.
So Glory Kids is our broad term for our entire children's department, and that includes our birth up to 6th grade. And so sometimes we'll hear the term used for our worship services with certain groups of our Glory Kids, but when you hear that on a broad scale, we're talking about from birth to 6th grade. So we have different mission and ministry opportunities within those groups, such as our nursery, our care groups. We have our mission friends, RAs and GAs that take place on Wednesdays. We have our preschool worship, which we call our Glory Kids Juniors. And we have our Glory Kids worship, which is our kindergarten through 2nd graders. Both of those take place during our 10:30 services on Sundays. So there are a lot of opportunities. We also have our Glory Crew on Sunday nights with our 3rd through 6th grade, which I have personally really enjoyed getting to know these kids on a more closer relationship with them and their parents that are involved. Gives us an opportunity just to help prepare them for the next steps of discipleship. We're able to get a little more involved about what it means to be a Christian and a part of God's family, and what it means to work together as a church. And so we're really seeing some growth there, and pray that continues.
Right. Well, jumping off of that, speak a little bit about what we'd call our mission statement, what we believe. For discipleship. Discipleship is one of our main goals here at Glory Fellowship. It's very, very important. It is a big deal, and we strive for that and for all ages. So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so to tag on to what you said there, discipleship is a very, very important emphasis that we want to focus on. And so we want to emphasize with our children's department that starts at birth, and that it's very important for our adults to those who feel led to serve with our children and specifically our babies, that love and that care that they receive from newborn up until toddler age is very important. We're not only serving the children, but we're serving the families, and as the children grow, they see what it's like to be a servant, a loving caregiver. There are times where our children go through these phases of separation anxiety, and they need comfort, and so we are blessed with adults who can show that, be a model to those kids, can give that comfort. All this ties into our mission statement, which is that we would want to make an impact for the glory of God. And so whether that be rocking a baby, comforting them as they may not feel well or may just want their mommy, up until, we move up to our sitters where music and modeling starts to become a part of the teaching and learning, and then on to our walkers and our toddlers where they're using visuals and more music and more words and pictures with their Bible stories, and it just it continues to grow through their developmental stages based on what they need. And so once we get up into preschool, you're seeing more structure with that modeling and the teaching and again the visuals and using scripture and just building on that. So our goal is that we would just continue to build to the next phases and have them prepared for the next step of ministry.
Right. Well, that's wonderful. We're very thankful for everyone that's involved in our Glory Kids, and kind of jumping off what you said, one of the things that we talk about all the time with our staff and our leadership is that this moving from Glory Kids into our youth and then into what some would say big church. And a lot of times in church, there's this separation where there's the adults, there's the youth, there's the kids. And we want our kids to understand and feel and know, well, this is my church too. It's not just mom and dad's church. This is my church as well. And Phil's going to be on next week talking about that aspect with our youth, that we want them to feel that this is their church. It's not just mom and dad's church in that aspect of it. So there's a whole building blocks process, going through the children's department into the youth, so that, they feel this is their home. Yes,
and we try to build opportunities in as they get older and grow and are able to kind of take in what's going on around them. They may not understand every aspect of what they're seeing, but they're seeing their parents model expected, not necessarily expected behaviors, but just learning how to respect God's word and the setting and worship and what that looks like, and just growing together as families. And I'm thankful for a church and a staff and leaders that want our children involved and want to see them learning how to worship. And we include our young ones in the worship service for a portion of the time that we feel is appropriate for them. And we're happy that they're able to grow and see baptisms and start asking those questions and figuring out things, through the teachings that are happening at the same time, and baby dedications and just mission trips, summaries of things that have taken place on mission trips. So it gives them opportunities to learn what it's like to be a Christian and what that might look like as they grow older.
Right. One thing that I don't know, I don't think we mentioned it, that we started a couple of years ago was our Glory Pals, our special needs ministry. So can you talk briefly about that?
Yes. So it's interesting how the Lord works, and that was about the timing or before that our church was looking for a children's minister, and started to work in my life individually, but he has a great plan that a lot of times we're not aware of. And so my background in history is in education, and specifically with special needs children. And you had come and spoke about this being a need here and an interest, and Brother Adam and I had spoke about that in the past. And we fortunate to have some people that wanted to get on board and be involved with getting a ministry started called our Glory Pals, where we buddy an adult or some youth are involved, which have turned out to be some of the best buddies for our children and families. Yes. But they give access to whatever might be taking place, whether it's caring for, whether it's learning in their care groups, participating in worship. They also buddy with them to give breaks when they're needed, to use different materials that might be needed on top of just your usual materials that you would teach with. And so, but more than anything, these individuals have a heart for those who just need a little extra. And so it's been amazing to see the families, how they've been blessed, but also how these children have blessed myself and these volunteers that are involved with them. So we want our families to be able to worship freely, and that's been a big blessing, I think, for our community.
Yeah, that's great. Quickly, can you share with us number of kids that we serve here at Glory Fellowship, the number of adults, volunteers involved, just to give everybody an idea of how large our children's department is?
Yes. So on any given Sunday, we may have approximately 130 to 150 children, and that could fluctuate depending on the season and what's going on. We serve about 175 if you looked at our total numbers, which is amazing. It's a blessing. That is, I think, about the same or maybe a little bit more than the number of not necessarily members, but attendees when I first started coming to Glory overall. So to look at those numbers, it's just amazing.
It's awesome.
Our volunteers, it seems to be the saying continues to come up, is that we are so blessed with people who want to serve our children. And when you hear us asking for more help, that it is definitely needed. It is always needed, but it is certainly not a case of that we only have a few carrying the load. We have got so many people involved, and I would say adults, we've got about 160 now. And that's including what's needed on Wednesdays and Sundays. That's teachers, that's nursery workers, assistants, at every level from birth to sixth grade. And to have almost the number of adults that you have children serving is a blessing in itself. So
yeah,
I'm very appreciative for that.
Yeah, that's great. And with our volunteers, if you're a member of Glory Fellowship and you feel led to be involved, there is room for you to be involved in the children's ministry here. So just kind of wrapping up with our Glory Kids, any events coming up, and we'll finish with this. And if you just talk a little bit about the events, and then we'll close up on this.
Yes, and I would like to say one more thing here. Okay. With our volunteers. Our volunteers are all background checked for the safety of our children and our families, and so I want everyone that to know that and feel comfortable with their children here. And also we do ask that they be a member of the church, and that they grow and serve here with the church as well. So with events coming up, we've got an Easter event that will be April 5th, the Wednesday before Easter, and that's for our preschool through sixth grade, and that's going to be called the Golden Ticket Tour. And so we'll be taking our children through the tour of how to get that golden ticket and what the Easter story is all about.
Okay, well, awesome. Well, again, Michelle Howell, Children's Director here at Glory Fellowship Baptist Church. And thank you guys for being with us and listening and watching. And we'll be back with you again with our next podcast with Brother Adam as we recap his sermon for the next week.